In the first quarter of 2024, the World Council of Churches WCC strategically relocated its Africa Regional Program Office from Geneva, Switzerland to Abuja, Nigeria. Now, this move underscores the WCC's commitment to enhancing its peace building initiatives across the African continent. Unfortunately, viewers, I am not going to be saying much about that because we have an authority who will do justice to all these and more. Hello, viewers, and welcome to another mind blowing episode of The Exclusive, coming to you from ACNNTV here in the capital city of Nigeria. I am Promise Njokwadibe, your host, and with me is a renowned guest. He is the World Council of Churches Program Executive for Peace Building in Africa, and also the coordinator, WCC African Regional Program Office, Abuja. Join me as we welcome the Reverend Dr. Ibrahim Wushishi Yusuf. It's good to have you come talk to us, sir.
Thank you, Promise.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
And how is WCC?
WCC is moving well.
And then how you enjoy your stay in Abuja?
Sure.
You're really having a good time here in Abuja.
Sure.
Well, then let's delve into the conversation for today. Let's start on a lighter note. Can you just tell us about yourself?
Thank you, Promise. I'm very delighted to be hosted here today and to engage with you in this conversation. As you have said, my name is Ibrahim Wushishi Yusuf. I am Baju.
Okay.
By tribe from the Baju Nation, from Zutrum precisely, Kaduna South. I was born some decades ago into the family of late Senior Apostle and Mrs. Ibrahim Malam Wushishi.
Okay.
And I'm also an ordained minister with the Nigerian Baptist Convention. I have served the church as a full-time pastor since 1990. I've served in different capacities within the church and outside the church. I have also been one of the areas of my service has been to serve as the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Nigeria for almost 10 years. And I'm also a member of the Nigeria Interreligious Council and also a co-secretary of the International Center of Peace and Harmony, supported by the World Council of Churches, which was located in Kaduna, but now has been moved to Abuja. And currently, I serve with the World Council of Churches as the Program Executive for Peace Building, working with the churches within Africa to promote peace and stability. And of recent, as you've just mentioned, the office was relocated to Abuja, which I am coordinating the office at the moment.
Oh, so elaborate. Very mighty portfolio you have there. You know, when you said you were born to apostle, your dad was an apostle. You know, is it in the Lord? I'm sure your parents was very proud of you to have a clergy, come out of their loins.
Yeah, my father was the leader of the church in the community when we grew up to find him leading the church.
Oh,
and actually, that also, through the special grace of God, has been invested in us. And also good to also mention to you that I'm happily married with 5 children and 2 grandchildren.
Oh, so I'm talking with a grandfather.
Sure.
I doff my cap for you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's really super awesome. Now you talked about WCC. Now that brings me to my next question. For the sake of the lay people out there, can you elaborate on WCC and how you come to occupy the present office you're occupying right now?
Thank you. WCC in full is the World Council of Churches.
Okay.
WCC is a fellowship of churches across the world. WCC was founded over 70 years ago, precisely 1948. And WCC has a members churches numbering about 353 member churches across the world. Here in Nigeria, we have about 9 member churches
Oh.
that are WCC member churches. And WCC cut across about 120 different countries with a total followership of over 580 million across the world.
580
80 million
million.
across the world.
Wow.
So that is in brief. And WCC focuses on issues of justice and also working with the member churches to promote peaceful coexistence in various parts of the world. The peace building project or program of the WCC cut across Nigeria, Africa, and Colombia. We also have the Middle East. We have Syria and other parts of the world that WCC operate and accompany the issues of promote issues of peace and peaceful coexistence, issues of justice, and so on and so forth.
Oh, you made mention when you were talking about WCC that in Nigeria we have about 9 churches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part of the WCC. Is it possible to mention those names? Do you have them at the tips of your fingers?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we'd like to hear
We
them.
do have the Anglican Church as a member church. We have the Baptist Church as a member church. We have the Church of the Lord Aladua as a member church. We have the Methodist Church as a member church. We have the Presbyterian Church as a member church. We have the Reformed Church of Christ in Nations as a member church with headquarters in Jalingo. We have the EYN, Ecclesia Yanua Nigeria, as a member church. We also have the First African Church as a member church. We have the First African Church Mission. That is number 9. Hopefully in June, WCC will be convening Central Committee meeting in South Africa. The number 10 church in Nigeria may be accepted. That is the Lutheran Church of Christ, which has applied, has fulfilled all the criteria of being a member, and they were accepted on probation. But in June, they will be formally confirmed their application.
Oh, okay, beautiful. So, from what you mentioned, it looks as if it's more of Orthodox setting. The Orthodox churches, is that what we're looking at? Are there other criteria? Can the new generational churches join WCC?
Yeah, in the last assembly, we have accepted a Pentecostal church as a member from South Africa, and also from Nigeria. We have the indigenous churches, like the Church of the Lord Aladura is also a member, and we still have others like the Eternal Sacred Order of Cherubim and Seraphim. They have also applied. Their membership is in process. So WCC welcomes all the families, not only the Orthodox or churches, as you mentioned.
Okay, so the B part of my question: how did you come to occupy, the office you occupy right now? And then let me ask a follow-up question to it. Are you the first Nigerian to occupy this office?
Yeah, I think from the record we have tried to check since the formation of WCC in 1948. In 1962, we had one of our church leaders who occupied the position of African president in WCC. But I think on the that is a staff, list. I'm not sure we have had a Nigerian. However, we have someone who is serving in WCC now, but representing the Catholic Church, representing the Vatican, is a Reverend Father from Nigeria. But his appointment from there came from or through the Vatican. But I think I seems to be the first staff from Nigeria that was engaged in 2020 to join the WCC staff. As to how it comes, I can't really tell because I believe in the fact that God has a plan for every one of us.
Very true.
Because even myself, when I reflect on it, I can't explain, because when the opportunity came and I didn't apply it, for the first time I recommended, as the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Nigeria, I recommended somebody from Nigeria for the position. But there were a lot of pools of church leaders encouraging me that the fact that we have not had someone there and that you have a good working relationship with the World Council of Churches as you occupy this office of the General Secretary. Possibly your application may open doors for Nigeria to be represented. So 2 days to the closing of the advert, I reluctantly
Applied.
applied.
And then here you are.
And here I am.
But then how do you feel about it?
No, I really feel happy that I was considered for the position.
Okay.
And also, I saw this position not belonging to me, but as representing my church, the denomination, the Baptist Church, and representing the Christian community. And not even the Christian community, the religious community. Because I remember vividly during my application, my church was supposed to recommend, and also the council recommended, but it went as far as even the Professor Khalid, the Secretary General of Jama'atul Nazri Islam, a Muslim organization, also sent recommendation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is Cardinal Onaika, being a Catholic, also sent a recommendation. So that really made me to see my position and the work I do as representing not only the CCN, not only the Baptist, but the religious community, because they had confidence in me and recommended. So I felt happy to be considered and acknowledged and be approved to do that for them.
You talking about the work you do. Can you briefly tell us exactly the description of your work?
Thank you very much. My work has to do with supporting, accompanying the churches. WCC is a member churches organization. It is not like other NGOs, because our focus is a Christian organization that has member churches as members of the organization. So in Africa, we have quite a good number of member churches. And in some of the countries in Africa, there are countries that are facing challenges of conflict. In the past, we had an African DEX, but coming from the assembly in that is the 10th assembly from Busan in 2013, the program DEX was reviewed to now focus as programmed, focus, to become a program focus. This program focus has to do with accompanying the churches that are exposed to violent crises, and churches that are in war, churches that has a series of challenges like the Boko Haram here, the kidnapping. So we started working with about specific countries like the South Sudan, the Sudan, we have Nigeria on the list, we have Burundi on the list, DRC, we have Cameroon, we also have Ethiopia, and we're country specific. But in 2022, we had the 11th assembly in Germany. And then there was a call to continue this pilgrimage, what we call pilgrimage of justice, reconciliation, and unity, which was a continuation of the journey from 2013. And now in this new journey, we focus on Africa as a continent. What I do is to try to work with the churches to try to strengthen their capacity in what they do. We try to understand the various challenges. How do we accompany them? Because we don't just sit in the office and design the program too, but we try to reach out to them. What are your issues? What are the challenges? How do you want us to accompany you? The work we do, we are not the owner of the work, but the people from the context design help us to know how to support them. We also support in terms of capacity strengthening, capacity building, join and support them in areas of advocacy, and also join to amplify their voices. What are the challenges? How can the global community, the fellowship, as a global, organization, get to know what is going on in Nigeria? Sometimes we have statements we issued. Sometimes we have advocacy visit. When I was in Geneva, many a times we send letters. We also advocate, that is, try to lobby through the embassies. I remember a series of the time we have met with the Nigerian ambassador and also ambassadors in Geneva to really push some of the observations, some of the things we have had from the member churches and how the government can help. And so those are the things we try to do. We help them, we work with them, we strengthen their capacity. That is, provide them with some resources, technical, experience, and also try to connect with other member churches from other contexts so that we can see how to. And when somebody is facing such a challenge and you prayed, not only pray, but going to visit them, it really encouraged them.
Very true.
I remember last year at the heat of the war in Sudan, that even the presidency has to relocate to Port Sudan. All the church leaders had to be relocated because Khartoum was taken over. In April last year, when we got the opportunity, the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches led a delegation, including the All African Conference of Churches, Fellowship of Christian Council and Churches in the Lake of and Horn of Africa, and other organizations to visit them in Port Sudan. I could imagine, I can still reflect on the joy they were having.
Yes.
They couldn't believe at this time they are IDPs, that people can leave their homes to come over to spend about 5 days with them,
Wow.
praying with them, encouraging them. So this is what we call ministry of presence. It's very important in the work we do. And when you are engaged on peace building issue is not something you just take a phone.
Not at all.
As I talk, no, you have to sometimes have an in-person engagement. When you are with a person, you are discussing with him, even from the response, the facial expression, you understand, you can even deduct, you can even understand and learn some things from what he's surrounded by.
Right,
So
yeah.
those are the things we do to support the churches.
Okay, you talked about the programs you people have been carrying on, which is very, 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 very recommendable, highly recommendable, and we pray God's blessings on all of you. But then, are there other programs you people carry on in WCC, you carry out apart from the whole visits and all of that? Are there other programs you carry out?
Yeah, let me just take for instance here in Nigeria. If you have been following up on the media, you will understand that a lot of activities, a lot of programs have been convened by WCC, not only me, but my colleagues. We have this issue of gender-based violence.
Yeah.
The CCN women, today you can see people wearing Thursday in black, most in some places. That advocacy is being supported by the World Council of Churches. And also the issue of HIV and AIDS, like last year, we had series of meetings, both interfaith, both Christian focus, with various stakeholders, the imams and the pastors, the young people, the women, and people affected and infected by HIV and AIDS. Or we have series of programs. And also, we also have programs like on peace building, and also program like helping the capacity, engaging the young people, and especially during on 21st September, during the International Day of Peace, there was a very good program convened by the young people in collaboration. That is the CCN, the Interfaith Center in Kaduna, focused it in Chukun to address and also mobilize the young people and the women to be part of peace ambassadors, to work for peace in their communities. Those are some of the programs we keep on doing. And even we still have another program coming up very soon.
I was actually about asking if we have other programs to look out for in the nearest future.
I think very soon you will have a training on human rights advocacy for religious leaders, especially coming from the Delta region. So that will be happening here in Abuja. And after that, we also have training on gender-based violence, involvement and engagement of the young people, the men, the women, in advocating for a good environment that promotes, safety and promote the dignity of the girls and the women, the girl child and the women in Nigeria. All those training are lined up and will be coming very soon.
Okay, this is really very interesting. I'm so glad that beyond these other ones you mentioned, you have really the interest of the masses at heart, not just Nigerians, but all over the world. A big kudos to you, and like I said earlier, I doff my cap for WCC.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you do. But now let's come back to why your office was moved to Nigeria from Switzerland. I know at the initial stage you talked about, a little about. So can you elaborate more on that? Why was your office moved to Nigeria?
Thank you. I think the WCC, acknowledging the current context we are in,
Mhm.
the office was located in Geneva. And while I was in Geneva, you don't have really direct link because the context of your work is Africa. So
Okay.
you always have to travel outside of Geneva to engage your context. And I
Wow.
think the WCC felt there is need to strengthen the accompaniment and support of the churches in Africa by relocating the office to Africa. I think it sounds even more better to say this is an African focused office and
Okay.
is located in Africa.
And located in Nigeria.
In
So
the,
is it okay for me to say it was brought to Abuja, Nigeria because you're there? Maybe
well,
because they're bringing it to your own country. Is it safe to say that?
well, you can say that, but I think my understanding was that the WCC consider Nigeria also as the giant of Africa,
Okay.
with many strong churches, with strong presence of the Christian community. I think if you look at the percentage of Christian in Nigeria, it's more than almost about 10 countries in Africa. Because in Nigeria, we have about over 100 million people, Christians.
Christians, yeah.
So when you put together this number and then you bring about 10 countries in Africa, put the percentage of the Christian, you will discover that the Christian in Nigeria is like a continent.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
think, and when you look at it in West Africa and Nigeria in particular, despite this strong presence, there is less presence of the ecumenical family.
Okay.
Like the World Council, like the All African Conference of Churches, the headquarters is in Nairobi. And they have offices in Addis Ababa, they have office in Lome, Togo. And when you look at the Fellowship of Christian Councils and Churches, the sub-regional fellowship, the headquarters also is in Lome. But look at the giant of Africa, Nigeria. There is no presence of such. So I think that also contributed to the strategic decision of the WCC leadership
To
to
bring
feel
in.
that why don't they take advantage of that space called Nigeria? Just as you see, even in the business community, every business struggle to see that they capture the interest and attention of Nigeria.
True.
So once they do that, any product goes very well. So I think that is what I can think that the WCC also felt there is a space that need to be occupied, given the fact that the force of Christianity, even the WCC, is moving toward Africa. So I think that really contributed to this decision. And also the Nigerian churches also demonstrated that. Because last year in November, they hosted the World Council of Churches Executive Committee at the same time with the All African Conference of Churches. And during the host, I remember the Executive Committee, His Grace, the Primate of the Church of Nigeria, Most Reverend Henry Dukuba, was the chairman of the General Central Planning Committee. And they did very well. So that also, even to the WCC and AACC, I think they have also identified the potential
Mm.
that exists in Nigeria. So
Okay.
I think that may have contributed.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm just happy that it came home. But then this is me now thinking outside the box. You know, you've talked about, I was about asking you the kind of advocacy WCC is into, but I know you mentioned some of them. I don't know if you still have others you would want to throw more lights on, you know, the kind of advocacy WCC is into. But then a follow-up question on that, this whole thing has to do with finance.
Mm,
It has to do with money.
mm.
How does WCC raise funds? How do you raise funds to accommodate all of these? Because recently we just had the president, the US president, Donald Trump, you know, talked about the HIV support coming to the, you know, all of that drama. Now, how does WCC plan to step in, you know, to help out with all of these? How do you take care of funds?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. WCC has a policy of what we call membership contribution.
Okay.
Every member church of WCC is expected to make contribution
Okay.
to the work of the fellowship, because it is the members that came together to start the fellowship and they manage the fellowship. It is important to note that even the activities and the programs we do in the WCC, they are not being initiated and approved and then start the implementation by the secretariat. The secretariat in Geneva, and even some of us that are here, are only implementing what the body, the organization has agreed
Mm.
to focus as it has happened, as it took place in 2022. Because during the assembly, the direction of the WCC and the new strategic plan is accepted and is endorsed by the assembly.
Okay.
Once they endorse the strategic plan, which will really give the direction, then the secretariat in Geneva come back and look at how to implement what was accepted.
Mm.
So the churches really, apart from the membership contribution, there are churches that even have more contribution to the work of the organization.
Mm.
And also we have some specialized ministries, that church-related institutions that are into advocacy development. They also work, or they have some collaboration with the work of the WCC.
Okay.
And also in the issue of the UN, the WCC also works with some department of the UN, like when we talk about climate change, we talk about racism, we talk about HIV and AIDS, we talk about peace building, and we talk about other issues, social issues that affect the day-to-day lives and even the future of the people, because we understand that we're a church-related organization and has membership of member churches, but and also preparing people for heaven, as the Nigerian would say.
Yeah.
But before they get to heaven, they have to live
Here on earth, yes.
So things that will affect their dignity as they live on earth are addressed by the WCC.
Okay.
Just as the Bible said in John chapter 10, verse 10, I come so that they will have life and have it more abundantly. In full, some text said in full. So anything that will affect life in full, talk of the issue of climate change. You see the devastation, even in countries like America that is strong. Whenever you look at that, you ask yourself, what if such calamity befalls a country that is very weak, not strategically positioned to respond to? It becomes a challenge, a big challenge. So we also try on our own part to see how do we bring in the church leaders, knowing fully that in any country, you either find the churches, the mosques being present, and there seems to be, the hope of the common people. So we try to bring them in most of this advocacy, to work together with them, also to engage them, to engage that is their leadership, their government, and also their followers, how to really be key into this advocacy.
Okay, that's actually very beautiful. I love the point you raised, the advocacy point. These are very very vital aspects of human lives that the WCC is touching, and we say kudos to that. Now let's come back to Nigeria. We talked about your office, being relocated back to Nigeria, and you outlined that Nigeria is actually very vast, very big. Even companies, lobby to come
Yeah.
to Nigeria to invest because we have the population really. But then what does Nigeria stand to benefit having your office here? What do we stand to benefit as a people?
Thank you very much. There are so many things
Okay.
Nigeria can and will benefit.
Okay.
For instance, let me just take for typical examples. Some years back, even while I was serving as the General Secretary of Nigeria Council of Churches, when you mention the issue of WCC, some people seem to ask, what is he really talking about? Because the WCC was like some people's property. They are the only ones that understand there is something, a fellowship like WCC. But during the planning of this executive committee, the visibility of WCC becomes strong. Let me just share something that happened. During the executive committee, there was an ecumenical success that was recorded that we have never recorded in the past.
Okay.
That success was that in the planning, there was a devotion every morning, and it was accepted that the devotion would be hosted by different churches. What I remember, one of the drivers from your church, when that day we were going to the Church of the Lord Aladura, he asked, our primate is coming here? They said, yes. So, to the amazement and surprise of many, the primate of the Church of Nigeria preached on the pulpit of the Church of the Lord Aladura.
Mm.
Maybe if you search the history, I have never had that opportunity. And the primate of the Church of the Lord Aladura preached in one of the cathedrals here of the Anglican Communion in Abuja. And during that week, every morning, all the Nigerian church leaders, you see them in the Baptist, you see them in the Church of the Lord, you see them in the Anglican, sharing fellowship, strengthening, church relations, and also ecumenical collaboration. One of the churches, their church, they do not have church inside Abuja, RCCN. So they had to connive and discuss with the ACCN to give them one of their churches to host their devotion that day.
Wow.
And we went there. It was the ICCN that was coordinating, but the building was for SCCN. This has never happened before. So coming with the office in Nigeria also has brought the WCC more closer to the churches.
Mm.
They can at any time, as we are here, you see some church leaders coming around asking questions. How is it happening? What is it going to happen? All this one is part of the benefit. And in the long run, now we're just trying to start the office. If in the future this office becomes more stronger, at least that is how the Geneva office was started.
Mm.
Small today, it becomes a very strong presence of the World Council of Churches. So I felt this office is amplifying. Now, during the DIFCON, I had the opportunity to be there. So if the office was in Geneva or the office was in Nairobi or Addis,
You would have maybe probably missed out. I can imagine.
so
DIFCON is not something anybody wants to
the
miss out on.
RCCN also is having their convention in March. They have invited, please, we need greetings. and they need to see the person. You
Mm.
mean if it was in another country, it would be difficult to even think of the ticket, the
True.
traveling
Very
logistics.
true.
So this has given the Nigerian the host, and really they have really proven that they are the host.
Okay.
Because when the office came, they said, look, this office is not about you, Wushishi. This office is about Nigerian hosting the WCC.
So where exactly is this office? I know it is in Abuja, Nigeria. Where exactly it is? For the sake of our viewers out there, who and that leads me to the next question: how do people connect to the WCC activities, especially those at the grassroots? So maybe you give us the address of the office first, so that those watching can always put it down and try to connect with you via your office. But
Thank
then,
you. The office is located at number 35A, Federal Housing Estate, Lugbe,
okay,
just opposite to Amak Market. I
okay,
think the easiest description is Amak Market. And we have succeeded with the support of your director here who visited the office. And he did something very lovely, wonderfully, and I need to mention it here because he asked me, he finds it difficult to get to this place. Can we try register this location in Google?
mm,
I said, let's try. So he tried. He gave it, I feel, some information. Today, just enter in your map, Google Map, WCC, African Regional Office, you will see it.
oh,
So
beautiful.
just press it.
That's the beauty of technology. It now makes everything so easy.
Yeah.
So for our viewers out there, you had the address number 35 Federal
Sing
Housing
Estate,
Estate
Lube,
Lugbe. Just the landmark there is the Amak
Amak Market.
Market. So your Google Map will always direct you. Okay, so back to my next question: how can other people get activities of get involved in the activities of WCC, especially those from the grassroots?
Thank you. As I have said, we work with our member churches.
Yeah.
You know, from Geneva, we cannot identify who should be part of this program, but we engage through the member churches and we mobilize participants through the member churches.
Okay.
And if there is particular, like the situation in Ogoni Land and Niger Delta, we've been accompanying them and there will be this training. So we had a meeting. They that are from the ground, can you mobilize the participants? Because WCC work really focus on the grassroots.
Okay.
And most importantly, we also give very important consideration to women and the
children.
young people. We also have a particular program for the children.
Okay.
When I was the General Secretary here, WCC accompanied us to introduce us to UNICEF Nigeria, that we signed MOU to work on end violence against children in about 6 states in Nigeria. So that has continued. So those are how we really mobilize. And also there are some groups, the women groups, there are the youth groups. We have also programs, executives that are responsible for this.
Okay.
So there is a very strong connection from the member churches down to the grassroots. And the understanding is that most of this training, when they are carried out, the understanding is that there is need to step down. When a representative of the church attends, we expect him to step down. And that is why we need people that have the constituency where to report, where to demonstrate what has been learned. So that is how we work with the member churches and the people from the grassroots community. Like during the heat of kidnapping, especially in Kaduna area in 2021, after the COVID, 2021, after the COVID, we came with my colleague who was working at the UN office in New York. We went to Kaduna, but we met with some political leaders, some heads of churches, but one specific request, we wanted to meet with women who has passed through kidnapping experience.
Very
So we
traumatic.
had to reach out to the women leader in Kaduna who mobilized those women from the villages, those that have experienced rape as a result of kidnapping. We had a meeting with them, and we gave them accommodation, feeding, just to share their experience. It's part of the trauma response. In fact, a woman said she was taken before they were being taken with the husband. Right there, they shot the husband dead.
Oh my goodness.
And then they took her with her children, daughters. And she said, every station, they rape all of them in front of the other, not in secret. And later, when they now came back, they said she should call people to send money. She said, which money? Which people? You killed my husband. Who will I call? I don't even have, there is no meaning for life. Kill me. There was a woman that was there. She was limping. She said, this is not how I was. But persistent rape has affected my leg. So when you look at, and these women were 30 in number. If every one of them sharing experience, then end up in tears. When I turned to look at my colleague from from US, Donna, she was just full of tears. How could people be treated this way? We also had a meeting with the student of the Bethel Baptist High School in Kaduna, 121 students that were taken all from the school. And they spent months in captivity. They also shared their experiences. One of the young lady student said the kidnappers were saying, pray, because they will always pray. And then they will come back and say, your God cannot rescue you. If he's God, then let him rescue you. This lady sharing, she said sometimes there were times they asked themselves, is God really hearing them? Is he really hearing them? If he is, why is it that these people are mocking them openly and they are still suffering?
I never knew this conversation is going to get this emotional.
So,
I really never knew.
Those are the situation. We went to Sudan in April, looking at people who were there in 2022 April. We were with them in their churches, in their comfort zone. When we visited them last year, in the school where they were, one elderly person was sharing his experience, how he was beaten. Look at him today, see how he is. He busted into cry. You know, the work we engage on is so challenging, it's so traumatic. Sometimes you are emotional, seeing people.
I can't just begin to imagine. I can't begin to imagine.
No food, not this. You found yourself in the midst of that context. And sometimes you check around as you ask about the resources. Where do we get really the resources to respond to this? How do we get the resources? Like, as I am here sometimes, in the night, they keep on sending, when there are shootings in the night, sending videos, photos to me at night. Please pray. This is what we are facing. Now we have been forced out. This is what is happening.
Goodness.
What will you do? Sometimes you don't even sleep comfortably.
Okay.
Because when you think of that, this is the same experience some of us were born and brought up, if you know Kaduna.
Yes.
This is the same experience. So I do understand when these people are complaining. It's not a story. It's something some of us have seen and have passed through and are still passing through. So that is the context of the work we try to do.
I must say kudos to you people, because just this little you've shared, I can imagine. Let me rephrase. I can't imagine what people are going through. I can't imagine how you're able to face such. I just don't have the right words to put my thoughts into. But more grace. That's all
Thank
we
you.
can pray. More grace on
Thank
you,
you.
more grace, more grace. Now, looking at the fact, I know our time is fast spent, but then looking at the fact that WCC is a fellowship of churches that works to promote unity, justice, and peace, would you say you have been able to achieve that?
Yes, you cannot achieve something 100% because context changes,
Mm,
and also we also changes in our focus work. But we have achieved that in the sense that, one of the priority things we try to do as WCC try to provide space for those who may likely cannot even meet. There are some contexts that even within the member churches or within the community, there are problems. And both the two parties, everybody felt, then who will now be the convener of this conversation? Like in the context of Russia and
mm.
Ukraine, WCC has played and continue to play a vital role in terms of convening space for the churches
For
from the two
dialogue,
sides
yeah.
to dialogue. So
Okay.
in most of the countries, we promote the issue of dialogue because every war must end at the table.
True. Okay. Well, talking about dialogue, now that brings me to Nigeria. We see what's going on in Nigeria, the killings, the persecution of Christians. And then you mentioned that WCC is interreligious. So I want to ask, do you think this interreligious dialogue would yield any positive fruits in Nigeria? Despite WCC's presence for over how many years? Look at what's happening in the country right now. Christians are being persecuted on a daily basis. Do you think the dialogue will yield any positive increase?
You know, I am very optimistic
Okay.
that the dialogue is offering something positive. Though we may have the challenges. The question that normally I ask myself, there was a time they asked me a question that all this effort you are making, we are not seeing anything changes. The crimes continue to be, taking place in the communities, killing and others. So I asked the person back, mm, for the fact that we are having this space to engage, yet we're having challenges, what do you think if nothing was done?
Hmm.
It would have been worse than what we're seeing. And secondly, even in our churches, we preach, we teach,
Hmm.
but people have not stopped. Should we stop preaching?
Not at all.
Even in the mosque, they preach during the salah, during the hutuba, but people are still living outside the confined, agreed, ethical way of the two religions. So should we now stop the prayer? No. So as far as we continue in our various religious body, we also need to strengthen. We shouldn't forget that the challenge in dialogue over the years I've been engaged is that our inability to engage the perpetrators
Mm.
on the table. Now you have the Muslims that are more friendly that can engage. You have the Christians, but there are some of the Muslim groups that are far.
Extremists, yeah.
But how do you get them in? Sometimes they don't. Like the Boko Haram,
Mm.
who did they even recognize as their hate? Despite the fact they said we are Muslims, but who did they recognize? So that is a challenge.
Okay.
Some of the things you discuss, you sit on the table, but what about those that are not in the table? They don't even subscribe to what we're saying. Then the next step of dialogue, I think, is for us to now begin to reflect how do we get those people
On
on
the
the table?
table. That's
As
that's
far as we
perfect.
continue to have them outside the table and even within the Christian the communities, there are some people that are even more, fanatical also.
Mm.
How do we get them on the table? Let them come with their own position. Let us reflect together. Dialogue is not coming to follow what I said. Dialogue is coming to let me know What is
I
your
don't understand each
position?
other.
Why did you say that? We also consider another option? What do you think about this option? How can we minimize this thing? How can we promote this thing? Yes, we understand what you say. You are right. But for the sake of living together, the Ubuntu, you are because I am. I am because you are.
True.
So we can shift ground and then to see how in dialogue you don't go into dialogue with the mentality of I won the day. No, nobody win the day. If you are going to win the day, then you
It's
no
not a
move.
dialogue.
It's
Very
not a
true.
dialogue.
Very
So
true.
this is how we continue to observe the challenges and also see how to improve for future progress of dialogue.
Okay, our time is fast spent, but quickly I must ask you this question. If you can briefly educate us more on the relationship or the connection between the AACC, CAN, and WCC. If you can briefly just educate us on that.
Thank
And then
you.
we'll take your last word.
Thank you. And let me start by saying the World Council of Churches, a fellowship at the global level.
Okay.
The AACC is not a sub branch
Okay.
of the WCC, but the AACC is also a conference of churches within the African region.
Okay.
Most of the region also have their own fellowship. And even within the AACC, we also have sub-regional. Like in AACC, that is the Africa. We have Fellowship of Christian Councils in West Africa. We also have West Africa. We also have the Fellowship of Christian Council in the Horn of Africa, FECLAHA. We also have FOKISA, Southern Africa. So all those ones are the regional ecumenical organization. They are all ecumenical organizations that operate in collaborative ways. Like the work we do in WCC, we always collaborate with the AACC and also the other regions, regional fellowship. We also collaborate with them. But for my own as African focal person, my focus is AACC and the three sub-regional, FEKIWA, FEKLAHA, and FOKISA.
Okay.
And then also we collaborate with the national council. In AACC, it's a conference of member churches, and the national council, like CCN, is they call it they are associate members. But in WCC, the CAN and the CCN is not associate members, but we collaborate with. And it is very important to note that in every country there is National Council of Churches or Christian councils.
Okay.
But the Nigerian structure is quite different. We have the CCN, we have CAN.
Okay.
Differently. In most countries, no.
No. Okay.
In some countries, you even have the Catholic as part of the National Council. So the relationship is that we are all church organizations moving and working for justice, working for unity, addressing social issues like climate change, gender-based violence, peace building, racism, and so on and so forth. So that is what connects us. So in our work from WCC, we're always trying to network with all these structures.
Okay.
Yeah, because like the CCN is founded by most of the members of WCC, though there are some members of WCC that are not also members of CCN. So we try to strengthen this collaboration while focusing also on our member churches.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, viewers, I'm sure for those of you who are asking, who are wondering what the connection is, now you get the picture, you get the connection. So I'll take your last words. What last words do you have for our viewers, for the churches, the federal government, and religious groups? Looking at further, WCC is an interfaith organization.
Thank you. Let me first focus my comment, especially to Nigeria.
Okay.
It is a privilege out of many African countries that Nigeria was picked by the leadership of WCC to bring this office here. I hereby call on the member churches, though they have already demonstrated and they are still demonstrating their commitment and also the Christian communities, and also the Muslim communities, because WCC work also with the Muslim very closely. And it's good to mention that even during the last executive committee, the Interfaith Center board meeting, attended by all the executive committee members of WCC, was hosted by the Sultan in his own house here in Abuja. That can give you the picture of how close the WCC work, because our focus is the humanity, the dignity of human life, the protection of human life. It's not only about, even God, that is the focus of God. God focuses on humanity. He does not select who is this or who is that. And also for the government of Nigeria, and we've also been trying, we'll try to find time to also meet with the minister of the FCT and other government establishment to really inform them of what the opportunity given to Nigeria to host this office. So I call on all to please rally around to demonstrate the support and accompany the office in the work we do. Meaning this office will be here, but together we are reaching out to other African countries. So I think it is something very important. And our doors, our lines are open. Anybody that need any, have any questions, we can link the person with the appropriate program officer and the global office in Geneva. And that is the important thing of why we're here. We can get these issues, the challenges, and then connect them with the global office for possible response to those issues. And also, as you have said, our address is very easy.
Yeah, very easy.
Just
Yeah.
enter WCC African Regional Office in your Google map.
And it takes you there.
It takes you there.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, this is where we call it a wrap, but then I must appreciate you. Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Yusuf, for coming to, give this wonderful exclusive. It's really, really worth it. I'm sure our viewers have found so much value, because I did. I found so much value. I never knew people. I know people pass through a lot, but hearing you say it brings it back home. So thank you very much. And we pray for more grace.
Thank you.
To carry on with this task.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's
now,
my pleasure.
Viewers, there is indeed no doubt that the relocation of the World Council of Churches, WCC, African office to Nigeria presents significant benefits for both the country and the continent. As a regional hub, it strengthens grassroots peace building efforts. It enhances interfaith dialogue and fosters collaboration among Christian communities to address pressing societal issues with Nigeria's diverse religions landscape and its central role in African affairs. The WCC's presence enable more effective advocacy for human rights. You had Dr. Yusuf point that out. It enables more effective advocacy for human rights, conflict resolution, and sustainable development. This strategic move positions Nigeria as a key player in global ecumenical engagement, reinforcing its role in promoting unity, justice, and peace across Africa. And it is our collective and sincere prayer that they succeed in this mission, because it is truly a very difficult one, but we pray more grace on them. So thank you, viewers, for staying with us until we come your way again next time with another edition of The Exclusive. I leave you with the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." That is food for thought. Until we come your way again now. Bye for now.